Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Rolling Road, and welcome back to the We Mazda Be Crazy leaderboard. This round 5, will see us covering this, the street edition of the Mazda MX-5 NC. This is the one that's most commonly seen out of all the variants of the Mazda MX-5 NC that Mazda produced, and surprisingly, there are actually quite a few variants of the NC. That said, it is the car in question for round 5. We are looking at 167 horsepower, 140 foot-pounds of torque, and a weight of, give or take, 2,600 pounds. Now, yesterday, if you watched round 4 all the way through, you will know that I wasn't really a huge fan at the end of the day of the NC's more track-based brother, the Super 20, because I went to town on that thing and tore it a new arsehole. You may or may not recall I spent about the last 5 minutes of round 4 just ranting about how bad a car the NC Super 20 actually was, and in turn actually just how little the car showed in relation to any real form of practicality for that matter. Here's hoping that this, what is basically the regular version of the NC, can prove me wrong and redeem the reputation of the Mazda MX-5's third generation. Having said that, let's head on over to Japan and let the car do the talking. Track number 1, ladies and gentlemen, saw us back at Suzuka, where, oh boy, this was painful to sit through. And this is the driver talking. This was, this was painful to sit through, was this lap. It's just so slow. It either needs more power or less weight. Because this thing has got this car has got the 0 to 60 time of a planet. It really honestly does. So 0 to 60 in about 2 years. 0 to 100 time of a decade. 0 to 100 time of, I don't know, how many years has Doctor Who been going? 55 years, is it really? Wow. Okay, yeah, there we go. It's got a 0 to 100 time of 55 years. And, yeah, this thing either needs to go on a crash course diet or it needs some more power. That said, the lap time that Planet Mazda had to beat was a 2 minutes 39.668 seconds, the time that the Trumpet set yesterday. Planet Mazda did its lap of Suzuka on this, its third and final lap, in a time of 2 minutes 51.103 seconds. So that is, if I'm doing my mathematics correctly, an 11.565 second split. 11.5 seconds. How do I... Someone please tell me how I respond to that, because I'm fucking flabbergasted. I really honestly am. I am legitimately flabbergasted. I'm really not liking Planet Mazda so far, but then again, it's early days. It is early days. Let's hope the United Arab Emirates can help prove this car's point. Track number 2, ladies and gentlemen, brought us back to the land of the money, the United Arab Emirates. and specifically the Yas Marina Formula 1 circuit in its North Corkscrew formation, where Planet Mazda performed... It tried, it understeered, it oversteered, it did all the steer, it tried. It tried. But it's just too heavy, and as you can see, it's just got far too much body roll. There's a good case of the understeer kicking in right there. That said, Planet Mazda had a time of 1 minute 15.795 seconds to beat, and did it in a time of 1 minute 14.484 seconds, which gives it a split time of 5.282 seconds. 5.3 seconds, give or take, slower than the Trumpet. And is so far the only good thing about this car, because both the NC Super 20 and Planet Mazda are related, is the noise. Let's try this again somewhere else. Round 3 once again saw us stateside for Mazda Laguna Seca. This car performed well around Laguna Seca, but it did it in its own pace. It did it at its own leisurely pace, which is fine if you're just seeing what the car can do out of your own curiosity. But when you're attempting to hot lap, which is what I'm doing with these cars, taking the track at your own pace isn't really the best idea in the world. I just hope that the car for round 6 does a hell of a lot better. Anyways, this is round 5, and round 5 we shall discuss. Planet Mazda had a time of 1 minute 46.960 seconds to beat. That was the time set by the Trumpet yesterday in round 4. Planet Mazda, on this, its third and final lap, set a best lap time of 1 minute 53.275 seconds, which is about... it's about a 6.3 second split, give or take. And through turn 6, I don't know if you just saw, but through that left-hander, the ride height gets real low on the car. It's actually impressive. Let's see how it did through the infamous corkscrew. Not too bad. I've seen cars traverse the corkscrew better, but all told, it wasn't that bad a car. It wasn't that bad a car. The suspension is still a bit wallowy for my liking, but there's nothing I can really do about the suspension. The car started stock, it's finishing stock. Those are the rules. Let's travel over to a different state. Well, here we are, guys. Track number 5, and we are back in the home of the Bratwurst. We are in Germany, where this car just... the straightaways were not long enough for this car to build up any genuine momentum. I mean, once the car did get going, it really went. But the problem is, as soon as you put on the brakes for a corner and then try and accelerate out of said corner in the right gear, it's still slow as shit. It really honestly is. This car is so unbelievably sluggish. But then again, it does have a 0 to 100 time of about 55 years, as I stated earlier. That said, Planet Mazda had a time of 1 minute 48.540 seconds to beat, and did its best lap on this, its second lap, in a time of 1 minute 59.815 seconds. That is a split of, give or take, 11.3 seconds. 11.3. I knew I wasn't expecting much from this car because of its surprisingly awful power-to-weight ratio. I know you don't usually expect an awful power-to-weight ratio from a Mazda MX-5. This is clearly an exception. And my days, this thing is so unbelievably sluggish. Where are we heading to next? Ooh. Well, let's just say the next track has got some country roads that'll be taking us home to the place we belong. West Virginia! Wait, hang on, what do you mean a copyright strike? No! Track number 6, ladies and gentlemen, and we are back stateside. Get out of my head, John Denver. For the Virginia International Raceway South formation with the Fail Race Rallycross alteration. And I've got to say it, this car handled the off-road sections really, really well. And I think I can understand why. It's got relatively wide tyres for an MX-5. And also for an MX-5, it's got a surprisingly high ride height, which I think also contributes to the masses of body roll that this thing gets through some of the tighter turns. That said, Planet Mazda had a time of 1 minute 26.389 seconds to beat, and did it on this, its third and final lap, in a lap time of 1 minute 33.112 seconds, which is about, that's math, that's about a 6.7 second split to the closest full 1/10 of a second. Not too bad, I guess. I don't really know, should truth be told. Well, actually, no, I should know. That's actually a bit poor, but semantics. Now, we're apparently going to a rock. Let's go do that. Track number 7 kept us stateside, this time for the Lime Rock South Chicane, where I guess this car performed pretty well. There was quite a bit of body roll. Surprisingly, very little oversteer attempts from the car, which surprised me. I can't lie, that did surprise me. Although I will admit, on lap 3, it did somehow spin on the uphill chicane, which is bizarre because I've never had that happen to me. In all the times I've driven this formation of Lime Rock, a car has never spun out on the uphill chicane. That said, Planet Mazda had a time of 1 minute 7.092 seconds to beat. That was the time set yesterday by the Trumpet. Planet Mazda did it on this, its second lap, in a time of 1 minute 10.291 seconds. 3.201 seconds slower than the Trumpet. 3.2 seconds. It's getting quicker. It's getting quicker. I'm gonna have to say it. It is getting much, much quicker. And that's a good thing. Track number 8 once again sees us in another state of the US of A. This time we are back at Road Atlanta. And I've got to say it, this track proved to me what something actually meant. There's a YouTuber called Regular Car Reviews, and every time he's reviewed a Mazda MX-5, he has said that the Mazda MX-5 is slow car fast. This car, around this track, finally got me to understand and respect what slow car fast actually means. It's a Mazda MX-5, it's meant to be slow, but once you get it up to speed, it is actually a pretty quick car, especially the NC. It's got a lot of momentum behind it once it gets going. RIP that cone, press F to pay respects. Anyways, the NC street version, or Planet Mazda, had a time of 1 minute 45.191 seconds to beat, a time that the Trumpet, aka the NC Super 20, set yesterday. Planet Mazda did it in a time of 1 minute 53.125 seconds. That's a near enough 8 second split. And it was doing so well too. I'm legit disappointed that it wasn't quicker. I really, honestly am legit disappointed that it wasn't any quicker. Oh well. Let's see what it can do over in Switzerland. Methinks it should be very, very interesting and very, very scary. Baby, it's cold outside, but it's nice and toasty in my Mazda. Welcome back to Switzerland and the Bernese Alps Festival circuit, where... Yeah, you remember how out of the trumpet we got 145 miles an hour on the downhill high-speed section? 140 miles an hour out of Planet Mazda, and it's the most terrifying 140 miles an hour I have ever experienced. I mentioned on the last track that I finally understood what slow car fast meant. 140 miles an hour out of a Mazda MX-5? That's taking slow car fast to a whole new level of extreme. That said, Planet Mazda had a time of 2 minutes 6.091 seconds to beat, and did it, with a bit of oversteer, I grant you, in a time of 2 minutes 15.595 seconds. That's like a 9.5 second split, give or take. And he was doing so well too. Oh, here comes the Bernese tunnel. Let's have a listen. Nah. The trumpet, for me, is still the best sounding car through the Bernese tunnel. For the time being, anyways. But yeah, a 9.5 second split, give or take. I had such high hopes for this car, especially with that high-speed downhill section. Oh well, I suppose you can't win them all. Also, there's a crest coming up here that the car caught some air on. Right there. It made a hell of a violent thud when it landed. But we made it round the track with no damage to the car, so I suppose that's a plus? Let's just go to the southern hemisphere. At least it'll be warmer both inside and out. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the land down under, and specifically the Mount Panorama circuit at Bathurst, where... Now, I don't know if it was how I was driving the car or what, but through some parts of this track, it was like this car knew that Mount Panorama was effectively the last chance in the do-or-die saloon that it would have to impress me, and impress me it did, actually. This car gave everything it could throw at this track, which is seriously, seriously impressive. It handled the coaster beautifully, which we'll see in a little bit. Outside of that, we only really had one major incident, so that was when I collected the outside wall on the final turn of the coaster, and the back bumper was starting to hang off slightly. In fact, you just saw it now as the car went past. Also, this uphill right-hander, the car was slowing down spectacularly for it. It really honestly was. It was brilliant. This car really gave it its all. All credit where credit is due to Planet Mazda. It gave it its all. Unfortunately, its all wasn't good enough. The time that Planet Mazda had to beat around the Mount Panorama circuit was a 2 minutes 41.504 seconds. And Planet Mazda, here comes the coaster by the way, did it in a time of 2 minutes 56.664 seconds. That is a split of 15.138 seconds. Which is tragic when you take into account that this car gave it its all and handled the coaster spectacularly. Joking aside, this so far, massive oversteer on the exit of the coaster. But outside of that, all joking aside, this car is, without the utmost shadow of a doubt, one of the best cars that I have driven through the coaster, which is incredibly impressive when you take into account the plant Mazda isn't even tuned for track day use. This is just tuned and designed to be your average everyday two-seater daily commuter. And we were up to 130 down this straightaway towards this left-hander. This left-hander is a bitch. So how it managed to get stopped, I couldn't tell you. Still, we've got one more track left to go. It's time to head back to Blighty. Our final track for round 5, ladies and gentlemen, saw us back in Blighty, and specifically back at Dunsfold for the Top Gear Aerodrome, where, good God above, this car came alive. It really, honestly did. This car and the Top Gear Aerodrome is a match made in heaven. It's just a pity, though, that the car has left it this late in the championship to really come alive, so to speak. Here we come up to Chicago, which I'll admit the car handled really, really well. Chicago, Hammerhead, the follow-through. This car handled all 3 of those corners really, really well. That said, Planet Mazda had a time of 1 minute 25.299 seconds to beat, and did its best lap on this, its third and final lap, in a time of 1 minute 31.489 seconds. That's about a 6.2 second split between the Trumpet and Planet Mazda. Just when I thought this car was going to do well, here we come up to the follow-through nonetheless. Fastest we were at for the exit was 102 miles an hour on the exit of the follow-through. Not too bad, but simultaneously could have and should have been a hell of a lot better. Let's conclude. Well, somewhat unsurprisingly, Lime Rock was where, time-wise, the car really shone. Planet Mazda around Lime Rock did a 1 minute 7.092 seconds, and I'm going to be honest with you all. I'm hardly surprised by that time upon reflection. I really honestly am not. The car, in the later stages of round 5, it tried. This car properly, honestly tried. Which is a lot more than what can be said for the Trumpet, which we saw yesterday, which tried too much. I want to say that Planet Mazda didn't try hard enough, but that's really unfair on the car. If anything, I didn't try hard enough on the car's part. The car had the performance. It's just a shame that it also doesn't have the power-to-weight ratio to back the power. And I think that's a massive, massive upset. If the car weighed something like 2, 3, maybe even 400 pounds less than what it already does, suddenly I think you'd be looking at a bit of a pocket rocket. I'm going to say it as well. When round 5 started and I was given Planet Mazda, I thought, oh great, here we go. This is going to be awful. And for the most part, it was. But as round 5 progressed, and I'm not going to beat about the bush when I say it, as round 5 progressed, I actually found myself falling for the car. I found myself willing the car to do better than it could. I was willing the car to push itself past its boundaries, and I dare say actually on that downhill high-speed section of both Maple Valley and the Bernese Alps, the car did just that. And this is one of the best cars that I've ever taken through the coaster on the Mount Panorama circuit, which is arguably the most technical part of that circuit, bar none. In fact, I actually challenge any of you to find a more technical circuit. Oh no, sorry, let me rephrase that. I challenge anyone watching this to try and find a more technical section of Mount Panorama than the coaster. That said, would I get one? In-game, give it to me with a weight reduction. The answer is yes. And maybe a bit more power to go with said weight reduction. Would I get one IRL? No. For two reasons. Reason one, I can't drive IRL, so that's that straight out the window. Second reason why I wouldn't recommend getting one IRL is that this is the biggest car that the MX-5 range has received. And you sit in one of these things IRL and you can really, really tell that it's a bit... how can I phrase this whilst attempting to sound politically correct? It's a bit more... chunky. Let's go with chunky. Because you sit in an NC and you've got the door card right on your arm. You've got the inside of the door right there on your arm. All you need to do is move your arm outwards an inch and boom, there's the inside of the door. You do that in an NA or an NB, you've actually got about 3/4 of a foot before you actually hit the inside of the door with your elbow. I can respect where Mazda were coming from. They were trying to make it a bit more of a safer car than what it already was. But it's an MX-5. You could roll this thing over and it would still be as safe as houses. It really honestly would be. The thing with the MX-5s is that they are built like tanks. Granted in the metaphorical sense, but they're built like tanks nonetheless. The NC is no exception to this. But even though I have fallen in love with the car, I am sorry. I honestly cannot recommend it. That said, if you have enjoyed what you have seen here, please do make sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, maybe even share the video with a couple of your friends. I don't know, it's up to you. I'm not your parents. That said, tomorrow's episode is... Hang on. Sorry, could you say that again? What do you mean it's the exact same fucking car? Oh, but it has been lightened. Excellent. Oh, I'll see you all tomorrow.